all par threes. I believe this is a Terry Miller design course too. Something to notice is that most of the fairways are pretty well cut with some longer grass serving as your rough areas. First hole is about 260 feet, pretty straightforward. Usually you're throwing a mid-range about 50 to 80% or a faster putter. And you have Zach with his birdie attempt here, just short. Alex is able to throw it pretty close to the hole and he cleans up his birdie. Zach with his par, and myself with birdie. Hole 2, another pretty straightforward hole, except for you're going all uphill the entire way. So it's only 173 feet, but you gotta throw a lot more than you feel like you need to. Pretty similar to the last hole on your disc selection. Usually a mid-range or a putter.
I like that better than mine too.
And if you get to the top of the hill, especially if it's windy like it is today, you got to be a little bit careful on your putts. It can rise on you and could roll back down the hill. Zach's able to collect a birdie on this hole. Today we're playing the red tees, which is all the short tee boxes for the holes. Moving on to hole number 3, you got a little more technical of a shot. The hole is tucked just in the trees straight ahead there. There's a little bit of a rock wall in front of it. There's a couple different routes you can use to get there. Here I'm using a turnover backhand. I usually opt for a forehand with a slower driver, just trying to skip it on up there. A zone sometimes works from the short tee box as well. The mistake that you're going to see that makes it a little bit tougher is if you go in early to those trees to the right. If you go early in the trees to the right, it's hard to get up
right behind
for your birdie. Par is still pretty easy from back there. However, if you get left of the trees, it's really hard to get in there. And you can see Zach does not have an easy look at the basket here, but he's able to still chip up under the basket for a tap and par.
One tree.
Alex went all along, and that's kind of the pathway that you get to hole number 4 there. Just a bit short. Zach with a nice par save here. And I caught my birdie. That was an envy. Pretty flippy one. Pretty glidey. Don't have to put a whole lot on it for the short tee boxes to get to that hole. Hole number 4, 181 feet. This one's pretty straightforward. Just straight ahead. Nothing in the way. Just throw something slow. Slide it on up. It's kind of a hard distance if you're not used to throwing up shots that are about this length. It's not a full power shot for any of your discs, so taking the right amount off is difficult at times. Zach gives it a good bid. It's pretty tough once you're in the longer grass out there. Alex with a beautiful birdie shot there. That was circle's edge, dead center chains. That cleans up his par. already shot a lot tougher than it needs to be. Moving on to hole 5, it's another basket that's kind of tucked in the trees. From the tee box, it's pretty much straight ahead. I usually opt for the forehand here. I believe this is a captain's raptor. Just kind of skip it on that left side, up and in there. And usually it works, but if you go a little too far straight, you can catch some of those trees there. If you got a straight flying putter, it's probably the easiest route to go, or a straight mid. You can see Alex is trying to do a little bit of a turnover with, I believe it's an origin. And again, if you get caught on the right side, makes it near impossible to get a birdie, and sometimes the par save can be difficult as well. Zach with a very good run from deep in the trees there, just off the top. You do got to be a little bit careful here. There is a little bit of a drop off behind that basket, so if you throw something in too fast, whether it's on your drive or on your upshot, you could be looking at a longer next shot. And then here, even though I'm inside the circle, it's kind of hard to find a good spot to stand. And I don't often mark my disc, but here I did just to try to get some better footing. And I'm not someone who straddles very often, and I rush this putt a little bit. And jam. We all clean up our pars. Hole number 6 is a little bit of a tricky shot, so you're only 190 feet away. You gotta go left. There's a couple different gaps that you can go through, but most you'll see are something very overstable down the middle. It's kind of a cool shot from the long tee pad on this one. You gotta either go over top of the trees or you gotta hit this middle gap here.
Too short.
And then if you're Zach, you try to take the hard shot, which is in between the V trees right off the tee, and somehow misses them both and gets inside the circle. Depending on the time of the year, it is a little bit difficult to find your discs in that cornfield. Earlier on, it's not easy to find them. And I throw it right off the front cage. Tap in for a par.
Time.
And Zach, after a shot between the two trees, gets within 15 feet, knocks down the birdie putt. And Alex about the same distance away, just on the short side. That was the same thing I did, right off the front cage. You get to hole 7, 188 feet. Again, pretty straightforward. Throw something slow right at it. Some opt for overstable and just kind of toss it out to the right, let it come back down. Some like the straightest disc, go right at it. A lot of different routes to get there. If you like your NVs, you'll see that Alex and I throw ours quite a bit. There's a lot of holes you can use an NV out here, especially in the short positions. The long grass doesn't come into play a ton in the short tees. In the long tees it does. And at times it is difficult to find your discs in the long grass. So as much as you can, you want to stay on the shortcut fairways. Alex and I are able to both pick up our birdies. Zach taps in his par. On to hole 8. pretty straightforward. It's 266 feet straight ahead in between those trees up there on the hill. Usually what I like to go for is a fairway driver, throw it at the tree on the right, and let it just crash down towards the basket. It's a great T-bird shot if you got it. The only real misses is if you get on either side of those trees outside the basket, but it's a pretty hard pull to get out there.
Lovely.
Sack with about a circle's edge putt for two. And he cans it. Falling forward. And Alex and I both got about 15 footers, different spots on the green there. I believe that's our first star frame of the day. On to hole 9. This is the longest one in the short pins, and probably the long pins as well. Here I'm throwing a hex. It's a pretty 80-90% pull on a mid-range for me. The long position's a lot of fun. It's kind of a top-of-the-world shot. You really get to throw a fun shot for that one. However, I've lost a couple discs on that as well in the long grass. If you got the forehand, it's probably the safest option. Those trees you see on the right-hand side do come into play a little bit on the backhand, which is why I opted for the flex shot with the mid-range. And that pine tree you see on the left there, that's about pin high. So you're aiming for that distance, but if you're on the left-hand side of it, you don't have an option for two at all. And I'm able to collect birdie from circle 2. These baskets don't hang on to a whole lot with just the 2 rows of chains there, but it's able to hold on to that one. Six. Able to collect his par there. As is Alex. Well, thanks for watching today. It's a 9-hole course at Oakwood Community Park.